Right, ready to go?
It's a bit closer for us, Trevor.
Sure.
Right up to
I might just get rid of my gloves while I'm standing at the lectern too. Great. All right, ready to go? Good morning, everyone. Great to be here today with my parliamentary colleague and the Minister responsible for Cross River Rail, Mark Bailey, and also the Chief Health Officer, Dr John Gerard. This morning we'll give you an update on COVID, and then we'll give you an update on a very important milestone in the delivery of the Cross River Rail project. So with our COVID update this morning, I can report there in the last reporting period 3,660 new cases in Queensland. That includes 2,560 positive self-reported RAT tests, rapid antigen tests, 33,289 active cases in Queensland. I regret to inform that in the last reporting period, in the last 24 hours, there were 13 deaths in Queensland. So we reflect on that, and we think in particular of the family and the friends of those people who passed in that period, and our thoughts are with them. And I'll let Dr Gerard explain a little bit more about that. When it comes to vaccination in Queensland, the rate continues to go up, which is very pleasing. There are 92.31% of eligible Queenslanders over the age of 16 who have received their first dose, and 90.22% of Queenslanders have received 2 doses. There are also 61.15% of the eligible booster population have received their booster 2, which is good that number continues to rise in Queensland. And of the age group 5 years to 11, 40.65% of that eligible group have received their first dose of a COVID-19 vaccination. I might hand over to Dr Gerard to say a little bit more about COVID today. Happy to take questions on COVID, and then we'll go to the major announcement for this morning. Dr Gerard.
Thank you very much, Treasurer. So, as we've said, we are reporting 3,660 cases, but there have been some technical issues with regard to data collation, so that's probably likely to be a bit of an underestimate, and we'll report on the additional cases that are likely to occur in the next 24 hours. So there's some slight data problems there in the last 24 hours. As we've said, we have 13 deaths to report today. 1 person in their 50s, 2 in their 60s, 3 in their 70s, 5 in their 80s, and 2 in their 90s. 6 of these 13 were not vaccinated. 2 had received 1 dose, 1 was double dose, and 4 had received the booster. And of these 13, 6 were known to be aged care residents. In terms of the hospital situation, this continues to improve significantly. So we have 508 people in our public hospitals being treated for COVID-19. That's down from 535 yesterday. So that fall in numbers in hospitals continues on a daily basis. There are 49 patients currently in the intensive care unit. We do know that the intensive care unit admissions tend to lag a bit behind the general hospital admissions. In the private hospitals also, the numbers of inpatients continues to fall, down to 30 in the last 24 hours from 49 for the previous reporting period. In terms of school-aged children, again, there has been an issue with data collection pertaining to PCR results, but we do have the rapid antigen, the self-reported rapid antigen test results for children. In the last 24 hours, there were 655, which is around the same number as the last period when it was 633. So no major change there. I'll now hand back to...
What's the data, the issue with data overnight? Was it the same thing we had last time?
I don't know. It was just this morning. We're starting early this morning. It's just a technical issue that I'm aware of. We usually should catch up by tomorrow, I'm told. It was purely a technical issue.
Have you seen the reports on the Gold Coast Hospital this morning? One of the doctors has come out and sort of talks about how busy and just how hard up against it that the Gold Coast Hospital was during that peak?
Yes, and I haven't, and I've spoken with the doctors involved who spoke to the media, it was tough. We know that, although much better than we expected. I mean, as you'd be aware, we were predicting at least 3,000 to 5,000 admissions to hospitals across Queensland, and in the end, there were less than 1,000 admissions to public hospitals in Queensland. So we fared much better than we had expected. And this is due to vaccination. It's clearly because of the wide-scale vaccination. And I really want to emphasise this, if you don't mind. There's a lot of talk about this virus being milder than the other viruses. This virus is at least as virulent as the original virus that was seen in Italy and New York. And were it not for vaccination, the situation would have been catastrophic. And what we have seen has been inordinately better than what we would have expected, and that's the result of vaccination. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. No further COVID questions? Okay, well, today we're here to, let me start again. Today we're here to mark a very important milestone in the delivery of the Cross River Rail project, the completion of the excavation for the new Roma Street Cross River Rail station. This is an important milestone in an important project for our state. In just a few years, thousands of Queenslanders will be using this station that will be built where we are now. They'll be using this station to travel to and from work and to and from leisure. And of course, today is also an important milestone for our economy. This is the first week we've had kids back at school and workers back in the office. And the numbers look very good for Queensland. The Westpac Melbourne Institute Consumer Confidence Survey, released on Thursday, showed that consumer sentiment in Queensland is the highest in the nation. In fact, on the east coast, Queensland is the only state in positive territory when it comes to consumer sentiment. Payroll data released on Thursday by the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that Queensland payrolls has increased by 2.1%, and that's for the first 2 weeks of January. On an annualised basis, that's $700 million extra into the pockets of workers, including the 234 workers who are working on this site. The rate of payroll growth for Queensland is the strongest in the country. It's more than double the increase in New South Wales and 5 times the increase of Victoria. But not only have Queenslanders been earning more money, they've been outspending it. So we've done an analysis of Google, Apple and Facebook data to show that Queenslanders have responded to the call to return to the office, and they are out and about. Major banks, and they're spending too, major banks are reporting significant transactions. Spending is up 27% in early February compared to pre-COVID. And again, Queensland leads the nation, the place where we always want to be. On the buses and the trains, we've seen a huge turnaround. Total patronage reached 360,000 travellers each day last week. That was up from 200,000 a day in January. So 360,000 a day last week, up from 200,000 in January. Last Thursday, there was an 80% increase in bus trips and a 50% increase in rail trips compared to the previous Thursday. So this shows that our economic recovery plan is working, that our call to arms for Queenslanders to come out, come back to work, get into their local communities, support small business, and to dig deep and spend is happening. And that's great for employment, great for the economy, and great for jobs. But you know what will happen here. We'll see incredible activity when this infrastructure is completed. Ours is a growing state with a growing economy, and that's why our government is delivering the infrastructure like Cross River Rail that a growing state needs. I might hand over to Minister Varley to say a few words, and then happy to take some questions after that.
Thanks very much, Treasurer. Look, as you can see, the scale of the Cross River Rail project is something to see. We will see when it's open more than 45,000 people coming through the big space that we're in now, accessing Cross River Rail services right throughout the system. Very exciting with the Olympics coming. The Cross River Rail project was an essential part of our bid to move people smoothly and quickly around the southeast. And what we'll see right near here, of course, is the swimming venue. People will be coming on the Cross River Rail service here, coming through this this gap, which will be filled progressively. We've had the year of tunnelling complete. Now we're looking at this year is the focus moves to the station construction, and we've already made substantial progress on the Wollongabba station, which I visited last week, and we'll see the other stations being put together as well. So this project's going very well. It's on time and it's on budget. Today we're also releasing, as part of our $500 million station accessibility upgrade program, designs for the new full accessibility upgrades at Banyo and Bundamba stations. And I pay tribute to our state members of Parliament, Lance McCullum, Leanne Lennard, who have lobbied very hard for these upgrades, and we're putting these designs out for public input from next Monday on the 14th. They'll have 2 weeks to comment on them online, so they should get online, tell us what they think. I visited the East Ipswich fully open, fully accessible station upgrade about a month ago, and it is an awesome thing to see. A modern station, easy to negotiate, whether you've got a pram or you're a senior citizen, you've got a disability, easy to get on and off. That's what we want to see with our public transport system. We want everybody to be able to use it well. And just a couple of comments with the Yeronga station. Yeronga station is one of 6 stations that we're giving a full accessibility upgrade south of the Cross River Rail project. These are quite old stations that have a lot of rickety stairs and things like that. We're doing full upgrades there. The Yeronga station has been delayed by a couple of months because of, firstly, the heavy La Nina rain in October and November, and then the impact of COVID on the workforces. So we're pleased to be able to let people know that the station will open again on March 14, and then we'll move on that day to close Fairfield Station and start the full accessibility upgrade there. So I think people will be pleased to be able to access a much better station. We'll progressively finish off bits and pieces of it over the coming months once it's reopened, and then we'll start construction on Fairfield Station as well. So a lot of progress on Cross River Rail, and we'll keep you posted as we go through those. Thank you.
Treasurer, can I just ask, just on our economic recovery, as Treasurer, you were probably a bit maybe annoyed the other day with the Targie's decision to obviously, have the booster for travellers and things like that. It's probably going to slow us down a little bit more. A Targie's advice, do you think that we need, its advice? Do we have to take the advice? Would you like to see just double jab moving forward?
Well, I think Queenslanders know, and the story of COVID for Queensland has been, if you follow the health advice, everything else follows, including the best economic recovery in the country. So I think we have to listen to the experts, the former Chief Health Officer, our now Governor, Dr Young, Dr Gerard. They've done an enormous job with their teams to keep us safe. We followed their advice, and we followed the advice of ATAGI too. So Australians, Queenslanders should be following that advice. It's very important to get 3 vaccine shots. That's critical now, and we know that the death and the illness rate for people who aren't boosted is much, much higher than those people who have got double dose or worse, unvaccinated at all. So I'm not concerned by that at all. I think Queenslanders will respond to that. The more people vaccinated, the more people boosted, the better it will be for them, for their community, but it'll also be important for our economy, and I'm encouraging people to do that.
What about those that are sitting at home, still working from home? There's so many offices. I mean, look, the numbers are good, they're on the rise, like you said, but it's still so quiet. What would you say to people that are at home working in their office? Would you say come back to work? Yeah,
we made that call. I did that last Monday with kids coming back to school. People should be coming back to the office, coming back particularly to large central business districts, wherever that might be in Queensland, but Brisbane, the Gold Coast, the CBD, the various community CBDs on the sunny coast. I think that's very important for our economy, but we are seeing that activity. You've seen the massive boost in public transport, people getting back on buses, getting back on trains. They're coming back to work, and that's really important. So support your local community too, so support your local small businesses, but also support your businesses in the large trading centres like the Brisbane CBD. So come back to work, and we all benefit from that.
Question to Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey, on integrity and private emails, what was it like to take the bullet for your colleagues back in 2017?
These matters are fully canvassed in 2017. I mean, it's 2022. A complaint was made, it was fully investigated, and the matter was closed with no case to answer. So, I think this matter has been well and truly canvassed and thoroughly looked at.
With respect, that Mr. You were the only one who stood down, dragged over the coals, and received the Life Summerall's report. But he mentioned Deputy Premier Miles and Mr. Brenny as well. What made you different? Why did you have to go through all that? They didn't.
Look, every single email was looked at by the CCC. They are an independent standing royal commission. If they had any issue, I'm sure they would have looked at it further. But they come to a conclusion on this in September of 2017. So look, I know the LNP are out there throwing mud, but let's be really clear. Every integrity measure that the Palaszczuk government has put up to the Parliament, David Crisafulli has voted against, whether it's banning property development donations, real-time disclosures, dropping the level of political donations to be disclosed from $12,500 under Campbell Newman and David Crisafulli to $1,000. It has been the LNP that's voted against every integrity measure in the Parliament, and they have got no credibility on this issue whatsoever.
You mentioned though that CCC has looked at every email. That includes the emails like someone was worried about regarding Deputy Premier, Mr. Brenny, House Speaker, Curtis Speaker. Those as well? They
looked at every single email, and they've been released under the RCI process, and have been on the disclosure log 6/2017. This is 5 years ago. So we see the LNP leader saying he's going to be different, but here he is going back to something that's been dealt with half a decade ago.
The State Archivist report though said that it was so widespread it was disturbing, and you confident that every email has been checked and that everyone who was partaking in that practice has been held to account like you would?
Yes.
You say it was 5 years ago though. Do you think that's undermined the integrity of the state government going into long term?
No. We've got very robust institutions in this state. We have had for decades. Unlike the federal government, who refused to legislate an independent commission against corruption, we've had one for 3 decades. And we have defended the integrity, the independence of that institution consistently over a long period of time. So our record is very clear. And look, they made a decision on this in September 2017. And yet that decision continues to be questioned. You've got to have the logical conclusion. If the LNP don't accept the conclusions of the Independent Standing Royal Commission, then they don't really actually support the Independent Standing Royal Commission.
There are 2 different versions of that report though, from September 2017 and October 2017. One is much pretty reading from the government. That was the one that was released yesterday at 4 o'clock. Why wasn't the original released?
Well, the report from the archivist went to the CCC as part of the investigations. The authority, the CCC, are the appropriate body to look into these matters. They looked at every aspect of it. They said I had no case to answer. The matter was closed in September 2017. And here we are, the LNP, talking about it in 2022. Really.
With all due respect, though, Minister, matters of integrity keep landing on the Premier's doorstep, your government's doorstep. We know ministers are unhappy. We know Labor backbenchers are unhappy. Has there been any discussions whatsoever behind the scenes of a change of leader?
No, that's ridiculous. No, of course not.
Do you think Stephen Miles will make the Premier?
Well, I think your line of questioning is extraordinarily creative, but it's not really based in reality.
Is there time for a wider inquiry into integrity issues?
No. Look, we've got robust institutions that have been in place for decades, and we are in a much stronger position on this than the federal government. The federal government has got no scrutiny about any independent federal anti-corruption commission. They promised to bring one in at the 2019 election, and they didn't. Queensland has got a very strong level of scrutiny across a number of agencies. That's appropriate, all brought in by Labor governments, all defended by Labor governments, even if the LNP refuse to acknowledge the outcomes because it's not politically convenient for them.
Stephen Miles told parliamentary estimates that he doesn't use a private email account for government business, that he does have a private email account. Given what was in Mr Summerall's report, has he misled Parliament?
I don't believe he has, no. And look, the CCC, again, has looked at all of these matters inside out. They are the standing independent Royal Commission. They've been in place, they do that job, and they've looked at all of these matters in 2017. It's now 2022.
Just on the cross-border rail, the government's launch of emergency though, with respect to the public
I can't quite hear you there, sorry.
Can you explain the government's lack of urgency when it comes to the public record law?
Look, My understanding is that the measures recommended are either being implemented or are in the process of being implemented.
Did you agree with Summerall's recommendations from 2017, and if so, have you taken any note of how they've been proceeded?
Look, that was a necessary part of the process. There was a complaint made, there's a full investigation made, all those factors were taken into account, as is appropriate. And the archivist himself said that I had no case to answer on page 3 of his report. Question over here.
On the Banyo and Madamba stations, do we have an idea of when those are expected to start those works?
Look, we're doing consultation now in terms of the design. So what we'll do is take that public input into, make some any adjustments that might be appropriate. We like that local input because engineers do a great job, but they don't always know the ins and outs of how people use stations as local commuters. So we'll take that into account, come out with a final design, then we'll have a tendering process and then we'll construct. So there's still a little way to go before we do the construction and finish that construction, but I think everyone who uses the Banyo and Bundamba stations will be really pleased to see it getting a full accessibility upgrade. It's not just about accessibility, it also gives the whole station a lift and the whole area a lift, and I think that's a really positive thing.
I do understand there's been a bit of delay on the whole with the project. Is there any chance in between to actually make up for any of that lost time in terms of the total whole?
Yeah, look, are you talking about Yeronga there? Yeah, look, it's only a couple of months, so there's some learnings there. Of course, there's no getting away from a La Nina weather pattern, which only happens, pretty rarely. So hard to pour concrete when there's huge puddles of water. But we are finished all the pours now, and there's a few learnings in terms of technique, which we'll then apply to the other station upgrades. So we expect we'll have to save a bit of time as a result of this first one. These are very old stations, so you come across all sorts of issues when you rip up the platforms and look at the services.
Cool. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.